big round of applause for all of the activists and workers and strugglers for justice who put together the vigil on January the 1st. January the 1st represented a victorious moment for our movement. And while there were great struggles in making January the 1st happen, many times we don't know the struggles that are engaged. We see the outcome. But we're thankful that Almighty God sent the right people in the right places at the right time to do the right things. For what happened on January 1st did not have to happen. As you saw broadcast over the news outlets with regularity over the days before January the 1st, OPD, Alameda County Sheriffs, BART Police, and any other law enforcement authority that existed in our area were determined that they did not want problems on January 1st. Of course, the slap in the face that we were being handed by these hypocrites who, if they examined January the 1st, it was not our community that had a problem on January the 1st. It was law enforcement community that had a problem on January 1st when one of its officers shot our brother in the back in response to his brother officer who called our brother a B word, an A word, and an N word before hurling him to his face and leaving him to lay dead to be shot on the BART track. And so law enforcement's public statements heading into January the 1st were really a representation of their fears that somehow, because we remember what happened with Brother Oscar, that on January the 1st this year, that we might take that as a moment to do unto them as they had done unto Oscar. But that's not our way. That's not what we gathered for. We want to thank, in their absence, our family who gave us their son, Brother Oscar, that traveled all the way to Los Angeles on the highways and back on the highways from a maybe 45-minute court procedure. And this family of ours that, like many others, were most concerned, more than any other, over the murder of their son, their brother, and their father, and desired to pay tribute to their son, their brother, and their father on January the 1st in remembrance of him. And so we are thankful for all of those that supported the effort at the vigil. But the Oakland Police Department really did not want to see that vigil occur. BART Authority did not really want to see that vigil occur. So as we were gathering for the vigil, those that were attentive will know that law enforcement gathered for the vigil. Right. They had a larger vigil than we did. Mm-hmm. There were hundreds of OPD officers waiting around the corner for something to go wrong. Mm-hmm. Now, I understand you're in the security business, and on January the 7th, something apparently went wrong. On January the 14th, something apparently went wrong. But to secure a vigil, not a rally, a vigil, which is in essence the opportunity that we are given to memorialize our loved ones. I will add, however, that in the term vigil, that by definition, it's not simply ritual. For vigil means to become and to remain prayerfully that God would set that one. And so we are thankful that the family called the vigil that allowed us to remember Oscar and express our watchful and dutifulness to the cause for justice for the murder of Oscar Grant. Let's give all of those that were involved a big round of applause. It anticipated, for an example, that the BART authority not only would make the place available, but that the BART authority was going to provide the sound and staging equipment 1 day ahead. We discovered that what BART was making available was a plug. Did I say a plug? And I don't even know if we used the plug. We didn't? We brought a generator. So what BART said was, you can have this little strip of the parking lot, though it's a holiday and nobody's riding BART that day, so we didn't stop them. You with me now? And say, you can use that outlet over there. Well, when it was discovered that they would not provide sound and staging, one of our elected officials, and we owe her a big round of applause, Sister Desley, Councilperson Desley, utilizing the influence of her work in the community, and found the company, and not just found the company, but made it fiscally possible. You know what that means? Yes. Because that sound and stage cost something. It was not free. When OPD was concerned about the activities and whether or not it would break down into the kind of problems that they felt they had to engage on January the 7th and 14th, notwithstanding how many of those problems they produced by creating conflict with people on those 2 dates. However, they said, we want to see what kind of security apparatus there will be there. We want to thank the brothers of the Nation of Islam and the sisters who came in to provide that service. Give them a big round of applause because their presence stayed the hand of law enforcement. They didn't have to talk to nobody. Y'all with me now? We weren't there to police you. We were there to protect you. And while we don't wear a banner on our automobile that says to protect and to serve, I think you already know, those that know us, right? Anybody from the hood knows that we are there to protect and to serve. So OPD was able to drink as much coffee and eat as many donuts as they wanted on that day, because we didn't leave them much to do. So give yourselves a big round of applause. Because the prevailing spirit of peace brought by those that came to harmonize one with another. Now again, there were struggles getting to that point. When we arrived at the Humanist Hall, there were police checkpoints. I was a little surprised on that part. And when it was said to those who were renting the hall that police authorities would not grant permission or permit status for the rental of the hall unless and until they saw a certain measure of security. He's not present with us today. They're all off the highway. Some are still in LA. We want to thank Brother Gary, who's our security organizer at the mosque, Brother Jack, Brother Cephas, went down and arranged with OPD to back off, in essence. But their back off, perhaps they thought, would cost us something. Because when they pulled the plug on the staging, it cost us something. I think upwards of $1,700 had to be contributed, and is still being contributed, by the way, to offset the cost for the stage and sound. Well, in a traditional sense, a security company, to meet the standard that OPD requested, might have cost upwards of $3,000. But by God's grace, Councilperson Brooks let me know the night before, and we began calling. By 10 o'clock the next morning, Brother Eric Muhammad, who owns a security company in Richmond, California, now we're crossing Bay lines now. So for all of those that thought that folk in Oakland and folk in Richmond and folk in San Francisco can't get along, we got along real quick. And Brother Eric and his company, I don't have the name of the company right off. What is it? Say it again. VIP Protective Services stepped in with all the California Guard cars that they needed and all the guards that they needed. It just so happened to look like him. And and a few other brothers. So OPD had a good night with donuts and coffee up the street from the Humanist Hall. So let's give Brother Eric a big round of applause. By the way, at $0. Every man of the manpower that OPD required of 10 guards. And when I got into the building, I'd never been in the Humanist Hall before that day. I can't imagine